Yo, this episode is brought to you by the homies. The homies are the Black with No Cream supporters who contribute on our Patreon page. And without you guys, running this podcast would not be possible. If you want to get next week's podcast episode a week early, become a homie on our Patreon page at jointhehomies.com. And we are back with another Black with No Cream Morning Roast podcast episode. I'm your host, Ben Haggerty, aka Ben Real vs. World. Today is episode 49, titled Instagram is the New Resume. If you are new to the midweek Morning Roast episodes, let me explain what you're about to dip into. The goal of the Morning Roast is to provide you with some midweek motivation and help you kill the game even more harder than you already are. I've been lucky enough to find some mild success in my career. It's been a long journey to get to this point, and I've learned a lot. So I'm trying to wake y'all up and give you mad shortcuts so you guys can dodge some of the mistakes I made and turn your shit up to 10. I encourage you to jot down 3 takeaways that you get from this episode and post them on your Instagram story tagging Black with No Cream. We actually made a little worksheet which you can find in our Instagram highlights right now or download by clicking the link in the show notes of this audio or video podcast, whatever you're consuming. It's just a way for you to plug in your thoughts and it gives you the 1, 2, 3 so you can fill it in. If yours is fire, I'll screenshot that shit and I'm going to read it at the end of next week's podcast episode, which will be cool, but it could also be cool for you to share some wisdom with your audience and encourage them to go a little harder in their day. If you feel like either this episode, the Black with No Cream podcast in general, or the Black with No Cream private community has provided you with any value, then we ask you to please consider supporting Black with No Cream on our Patreon page. I'm currently sitting in my car recording this episode because Lauren has a client upstairs and I need to get this shit out since it's Wednesday. So just know that your contribution will help me from upgrading from my car to a podcast studio someday. I'm literally stopping recording every 10 minutes because cars keep coming in and out this bitch. Help me, God. By contributing on Patreon, you will instantly unlock being able to hear next week's podcast interview 1 week early, and so many more perks. Each dollar goes towards helping us take the idea of Black with No Cream and raise it to the next level. We couldn't do any of this shit without you guys, so your support means the world. Go to jointhehomies.com or go to patreon.com/blackwithnocream, whatever's easiest, and join the homies. We thank you 1000%. All right, that's it. Leave us a review on YouTube or on iTunes so that they know we are lit. That helps a fuck ton to help, our podcast reach new creators out there that are searching for the keys. Dropping new merch next month. We have designs. They are insane. That's all I'm going to say. So you better be ready, you bitch. And before that drops, like I said earlier, if you want to support Black with No Cream, make sure to visit jointhehomies.com to support us on Patreon, which will actually get you discounts on any of that merch that we drop in the future. So yeah, get that plug, bro. If you support, please send me a DM with a screenshot of your pledge on Patreon so I can share it on my Instagram and shit. I really want to personally thank you for the support. It again, just means the world to me. So enjoy the work week. Keep creating. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday and Sunday for a new Black with No Cream episode. And without further ado, I bring to you another banger of a morning roast and the most epic podcast intro ever created right motherfucking now.
Attention.
If you stop this podcast recording at any time,
you will die.
I don't want to die.
Do you want to live?
You have 24 hours to share this podcast with 5 people or you will die.
I'm kidding. You won't die. You're just weak shit for not sharing.
And the winner of the best motherfucking podcast goes to...
Black with No Cream.
What do you think?
It's so fucking dumb and so fucking Ben Haggerty.
I knew you would say that. So, here's a PSA for those that are unaware. Instagram is the new resume. To put it another way, I'll throw it back to a quote from my podcast episode with my dog Marcus Frisky, head of social content at EA Sports, aka someone whose job it is to hire creators to shoot big budget projects for one of the most famous gaming companies in the world, which I've been lucky enough to have been hired by them several times in the past. In that episode, he says, "Your portfolio is your social media pages. Anyone who doesn't think they get hired off your social media profile is crazy." And I couldn't have said it any better myself. So today we are going to talk about why you, if you aren't already, need to take your Instagram more seriously as a tool to use to do what we all want to do. Land work. Now, before we start, I want to make an apology to the corporate world, quote unquote, so you can better understand how it's not much different than what we are all trying to accomplish in the creative world. In the corporate world, we all know that resumes are like the fucking key to landing any job. You basically cannot get in the door unless the piece of paper you send in is impressive enough that the company decides to offer you an interview over most other applicants. Because of that fact, people spend a lot of time crafting their resume to make sure that it is as impactful on first glance as possible. Why? Because once you send it, that paper is the only thing that is going to determine if you get a callback. You won't be able to be in the room to explain to the HR person anything that you left out or to elaborate on anything you left vague. So, you carefully make sure your most impressive past experiences are detailed and that you leave out anything that is unnecessary to the role that you are applying for. You spend time with the verbiage of each bullet point to maximize your roles and accomplishments at each job, all with the goal of sending the strongest message possible to the company you're applying to, which is, I am qualified for this role and I will excel based on what I've accomplished so far. Am I right? Okay, now back to the creating world. So why does all of this matter? Because in our world, landing jobs is so much more unconventional. The professional lines are blurred. Jobs can be landed via email or text or in person at a social event or even in a fucking LinkedIn DM. But even though you don't often apply and send a traditional resume when trying to land a job in the creative field, a lot of the same principles apply and affect your ability to land jobs behind the scenes even if you don't know it. So, what do you think is the first thing literally anyone does when you reach out for a creative opportunity via DM or email or in person? They're most likely going to check your Instagram page out to form a first impression of you. Yes, they may go straight to your website, but the easiest way to gauge if a person is legit, talented, qualified, whatever it may be, can easily be identified through a quick scroll of the IG feed, in most cases. Instagram is your resume, so you want to make sure that you do everything you can to make sure that shit is on fucking point. You want to put thought and detail into it like you would a resume for another job. And here's how you do it. Like I said, everyone is going to your Instagram to form a first impression about you as a creator. And even if it's not the first thing they do, it'll be the second or third thing that they do to validate what they first thought of your work. The first impression you make on someone is extremely important, especially when there are so many other creators out there seeking the same opportunities as you, and just as many creators already in those positions you're seeking. You don't want to fall in the same category as all the other creators sending emails or DMs that get ignored. So how do you stand out? Here's where I want to stop and make sure I'm 100% clear. This is not about followers or likes or views. I know there are people thinking, yeah, that's easy for you to say, you got 50K followers. But what you probably don't realize is that some of the illest and most successful creators in the actual industry don't have that many followers at all, or maybe they don't even have social media. They don't care because their work speaks for itself, and they don't feel the need to promote it or give a fuck about having a million fans. But what I do want to push throughout the rest of this episode is that it's definitely in your best interest to do everything in your power to maximize your impression on the people you're seeking jobs from. There is nothing negative that comes from having a strong social media presence. Just treat that shit like it's a storefront to your business and make that shit look top notch. All right, so anyways, when someone takes a look at your Instagram, they're looking for a bunch of things at a glance all at once that gives them the instant first impression. What's the quality of your work? How's the curation of your content? What's your style aesthetic look like? And lastly, what do you do? And then based off of that, they will move forward with their opinion of what type of creator you are. You want your Instagram to be a clean and polished representation of your best work. It should send a clear message of exactly what type of work you do. But even more important than this is, your Instagram should represent the work you want to do. Also, in the words of Marcus Frisky, do the job you want, not the one you have. What does this mean? It means that if you want to be a music photographer or videographer, it is in your best interest for your Instagram to showcase your strongest work in music. You may shoot videos for local companies or shoot weddings or portraits to make a living, and that's fucking dope. Make that money however you can. But if it's not the job you are seeking, then you are impacting the message that you are sending with your quote-unquote personal brand. So when you are seeking jobs in music and the gatekeeper looks at your account to see the quality of work and what you have done in the past, and then they get to your page and they don't get a strong impression that, okay, this person is definitely talented in music photography or whatever it is, then your chances of landing a job takes a huge hit. Your Instagram sends a huge message and you want to be aware of that. And a pro tip, create multiple accounts for your different passions. If you're doing wedding videos to make your bread, but you have a 5-year plan that is to be a touring videographer, make an Instagram that is fire as fuck for your wedding clientele and make another that targets the touring videography clientele. It's just like the corporate resume we were talking about earlier. If you're applying for an advertising job and your resume is cluttered with a bunch of irrelevant jobs you held in your high school or college years, then the person reading it is not likely going to be impressed on first glance. and that could be enough to eliminate you from the running. You want someone to look at your profile and immediately get an understanding that you are a professional. If you want to be hired for portraits, then it should be abundantly clear that you are a really dope portrait photographer the minute someone looks at your page. If you aren't consistent with your content, or your content is all over the place, then it's going to be hard to make that first impression you are trying to make. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to stop shooting other videos and photos you currently shoot at all. But if it doesn't align with the brand or career path that you want to create, then maybe those things are best left on your website where you can send it to your clients and keep a record of your experiences without impacting your brand on Instagram. Or maybe you are just more conscious with what content you post and how you curate it. It's just a thought. Some more quick tips and thoughts of things that you can pay attention to maximize your Instagram resume. 1. Your bio is the top line of your resume. Make it clear. What do you do? Where are you based out of? It's helpful to have your email in your bio if you are seeking jobs. It just makes it easier for someone even though the email button might be right there. Definitely link your website, portfolio, or the most important thing that you want people to watch or see when they first come to your page. 2. Your avatar is what draws people to your page. Make sure it's appealing and makes someone want to click on your page. I personally haven't changed my avatar since like 2014. It becomes familiar to people that the little circle filled with blue and a silhouette of my face is my marking. And they may slow down to look at my content because that color and layout reminds them of me, or at least something that they are familiar with. It's eye-catching. 3. The appearance of your grid does matter. If you post a lot of videos, your covers matter. Most people are taking a glance at your grid and they will watch a couple videos. So does your grid convey the same quality as your videos? For photo-dominant pages, it helps to have all your photos feel like they belong together for the most part. And that goes for any creator type. All right, guys, that's it. The last thing I want to say, and this is always the most important, don't put so much value on who is in your content. If a photo or video is dope, it's dope, and you should post it. People see quality work when they see it. On the flip side, just because a photo has a famous person in it doesn't mean it's good. Also, don't get caught up in the fact that you haven't shot something notable in a while and let that keep you from sharing what you've been creating. Post what you think is dope to you. That's what it's all about. Instagram is an expression and representation of your taste and your vision. So if anything I just said in this episode goes against that, then fuck it. But if you're looking for ways to increase your resume rate and impact when reaching out to jobs and connections, start out with these tips and beef up your fucking resume. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Like always, write down 3 lessons that you learned from this episode. We are going to post a template on the Black with No Cream Instagram in the highlights for you to screenshot and upload to your story. I want to see what you guys think, and I will share the best review on next week's episode. So on this last week's Morning Roast, I asked the listeners to share with me 3 takeaways that they got from our episode titled, You're Not Charging Enough. We had so many good submissions, but the first one that came into my DMs like an hour after I dropped the episode was from this dude, and I know I'm going to fuck up how I say your name, but his Instagram handle is Schwabi Schwabs. He wrote, 3 things that I learned from this podcast are, 1, charge a rental fee on your equipment. 2, be specific on why your project costs a certain amount of money. 3, he says, stop sleeping on these fire Black with No Cream podcast episodes so you can secure the bag. Fucking right, boy. Lastly, if this impacted you and got you fired up, again, you should be a motherfucking homie and go to jointhehomies.com so we can keep building this platform and providing you the keys and anything you could ever need as a creator. There are so many fucking dope perks that you can get for as low as $5 fucking dollars. So if you just don't buy one Subway sandwich at a minimum, you can not only help us over here at the Black with No Cream headquarters, aka in my kitchen, aka right now in my car, but you can also unlock mad perks. So jointhehomies.com or patreon.com/Black with No Cream. All right, that's it. Enjoy the work week. New episode every single Wednesday and Sunday, which means I will see you on Sunday, you bitch!